Uyemore, I think there is a echo. And
Good morning.
okay, mine is on mute. I think probably is yours. Okay, I think we're fine. Okay, my name is Norma French Mbombo, the Western Cape Member of Parliament, who's also the chair of the Mobility. On the table is Miss Zahida Adams, who's be helping us with that. The first thing we do, the members will introduce themselves. We've got those that are online. And we also want to appreciate and welcome the Minister of the Mobility and his team. He will also introduce himself and the team. And of course, we have got the stakeholders who will also be presenting again. Welcome. Aware that others were here as early as 7 a.m. I understand in order to beat the Cape Town traffic, we have to be early. Welcome, but you will be introducing your team when we do the presentation. How the presentation is going to work, we'll start with the one that is after to say something in terms of any opening remarks from the minister and also from the two that will be presenting. We'll start with the e-hailing, and then we do the e-cabs, and then the department will respond. Plus, also we ask them for their presentation, but we wanted to start with the visitors because that's a main reason. The main reason also it's about we have already, as part of the National Land Transport Act and all of those, we have already invited from the PRASA, from the passenger rails, they've been here. We've already also invited the buses, they've been here, and all others. So now that's where we felt like strongly we also need to invited the minibus taxi. They've been here as well. So it's your turn to shine. And the time you are allocated is from 9 o'clock until 11:30, because from then we have to do our own thing as a committee. So that's how things is going to happen. I'll let you know then when I do the presentation that for how long I'll provide for each. But over to you, members, starting with the members here inside the house.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Leon van Wyk, a member of the Standing Committee on Mobility.
Good morning, Chair. Brett Heron, member of the Standing Committee.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, officials and the taxi industry or e-hailing industry. My name is Noko Masipa. I'm a member of this Standing Committee. Thank you.
Online?
Good morning, Chair, MEC, and your team, like the stakeholders from e-hailing and so on. My name is Benson Lensu, the member of this committee. Apologies that I'm joining online. I don't like it. It's my first time.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, MEC. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Noel Constable. I am also a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. It's Derek Wessels here, joining online, and I'm also a member of this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The rules of the engagement, it will be that all members need to be muted if it here in the house to avoid background noises, and also for the members to flag any points that we need to discuss afterwards. And also, please, for those who are here, you switch off your mic once you are done, we have finished speaking, so that to allow the others to be able to speak. And now I'll provide the opportunity for the remarks from the minister and the remarks from the e-hailing. And it's just an opening remarks. You still have got your turn. And then the opening remarks from the e-cabs. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's the two that are presenting that I'm aware of. Over to you, Minister. Thank you.
Chair, are we not going to do the introductions? as a team. Okay. So good morning to the chairperson and to the honorable members in the house and online, and to our stakeholders that are present here. My name is Isaac Sileko. I'm the Minister of Mobility in the Western Cape.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members, Minister, colleagues, dear De Ribbenau, Acting Head of Department Mobility.
Kurt Hendricks, responsible for formalization and empowerment. Thanks.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, members, colleagues. Mark Skrikker, I am with the Western Cape PRE.
Good morning, honorable members. Bernie McMahon, Director Operating License and Permits.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members. Ricardo Collins, Director Responsible Land Transport Contracts.
Good morning, Chair and members. Godfrey Reed, Chief Director, Regulation.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Maxine Bezaidenat, Chief Director, Mobility.
You can do the opening remarks, and then the e-hailing will do the opening remarks, and then they introduce the team.
Thank you very much, Chair. And once again, I thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you and to talk about the issues that are of concern to everybody. And also the fact that we'll be listening to our stakeholders in terms of their concerns and how we can actually better work together as mobility. Because what is important, if mobility works and everybody can actually be able to get to their work opportunities, they're able to go to places. And also what is important about what we are trying to do as a department is that we want to realize our vision of making sure that all modes of transport within the public sector are able to coexist. They are not competing with one another, but they are coexisting and they are complementing one another. Of course, I'm not going to be naive and say that there are no issues everywhere. You have seen on in the media, everywhere in our country there are issues, because these issues are coming for years. And I must say it won't take one meeting or two meetings to resolve some of the issues. But what is important is that we must be able to confront all the issues that we have and find lasting solution, so that one day when we are able to look back, we would be able to say that we were able to deal with the issues, we were able to lay the foundation. And it's by no surprise that you find that I've got a whole team here. I've got two advocates that are going to be able to answer all the difficult questions from our stakeholders. But ultimately, I would really want to welcome this engagement, and hopefully we will be able to find one another and make sure that, you know, the work that we are doing, we are able to serve everyone within this province. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. From the government side, the e-hailing.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the chairperson, the members of the parliament, and my colleagues from the ECAPS and the e-hailing colleagues. My name is Siabonga Tlhabisa. I'm currently the chairperson of the Western Cape E-hailing Association. Chair, thank you so much. We want to appreciate the effort that has been done by the provincial Western Cape government to invite us today. It's been a long journey for us to try to be able to send our great visit directly to the government. But today we appreciate the fact that we will be here presenting ourselves regarding the issues that we have in the Western Cape as a whole. We currently here not to attack, but we are here just to try to find solutions on matters that are happening, especially with the issue of permits and the regulation that has been launched by the government recently. There are so much of questions, concerns. The issue of safety, I'm glad that I heard that there's some members who are sitting on SAPS also that can assist us, because we are currently a very targeted new platform in the game, whereby so much issues are there. We know that we might not resolve these issues today, but we hopefully for the future that it might happen that we would find a working mechanism between us and the government. Thank you so much again for inviting us. I don't know if I will allow my colleagues when the time comes to introduce themselves. Thank you so much. Okay, I will maybe allow my colleagues to start from here so that they can introduce the way they want to be introduced, because I might use not the correct words, but yeah, I'll start from my deputy chairperson. Thank you.
Good morning and thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Semi Bala. I am currently serving as the Deputy Chairperson of the Western Cape E-Hailing Association. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I'm Ahmed Jones from E-Hailing, Western Cape E-Hailing Association, and the present treasurer.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sizwe Dlamini, Executive Committee of the Western Cape Hailing Association.
Good morning, everyone, and honorable leaders. This is Yusuf from Western Cape E-Hailing Association, and I'm currently the interim Secretary General of the association. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson, members. My name is Ashwell Sampson, and I'm compliance for Western Cape E-Hailing Association.
Good morning, all. Keith Francis, member of the Western Cape E-Hailing Association.
Good morning, all members of Parliament. Chairperson, I'm Telama Sakale. I'm the Head of Business Development and Marketing at the Western Cape E-Hailing Association. Thank you.
Thank you. The ECAPs. Starting with your opening remarks, and then the team introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, good morning. Piamora, Molweni. Chairperson, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. We don't take it lightly. We appreciate that we are given an audience to be able to give first-hand information with what we are experiencing in the industry. And we are hoping that we will have a very productive dialogue, which can then move us forward into improving the environment that we work in and the Western Cape province at large. Thank you. My name is Anthony Mwebazi. I'm the General Secretary of ECABS. Here with me, I have my colleagues, the chairperson, Mr. David Drummond. I have with me Mr. Ishmael Abrahams, the vice
Sorry.
chairperson.
Probably want to hear their voices as well. Let them introduce themselves.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Chair.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Minister. All the delegates, my colleagues and my fantastic team behind me. My name's Dave Drummond. I've been the chairperson of ECABS for a while. I've been involved in the industry for many, many years. And we look forward to sharing our thoughts today. Thank you.
Good morning, Ismail Abrams, Vice Chairman, ECABS. Thank you.
Good morning, Umar Khaidin, Executive Member, ECABS.
Good morning, Mikael Palay, ECABS membership.
Good morning, Sylvia, Cindy, Namalwa from ECAPS.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members, Nizam Azad from ECABS, and I serve as the security advisor on the ECABS panel. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Mustaqim Hendricks. I'm the technology officer for ECABS.
Good morning, everybody. Elise Pavlovich. I'm the owner of Pro Driver Placements. I'm the EA on this committee. I serve in the training department with a focus of upliftment of drivers in the industry.
Thank you very much. George, you also need to sit where there is a thing and then you introduce yourselves. I know people from George. You can introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Chairperson and the committee and everyone present. The name is Arnold Peterson from George E-Hailings.
Good morning, Chairperson. It's Edward Obalame from George E-Hailing.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure whether I don't see any other people from online except the members. We start with the e-hailing. We are providing you a maximum of 20 minutes for your presentation. And then afterwards, we'll ask the ECAPs and then the department. Department will respond, plus also they will also have also something to say. Let's do it like that. Thank you very much. Over to the e-hailing. Your presentation is the one already reflecting. And I just hope that others also, they do have the copies. Thank you very much. Over to you. Your 20 minutes just starting.
Greetings. Thank you once again. My name is Tela Masakale, as mentioned earlier. I'm the head of business development and marketing. Also the national spokesperson for the National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa. So today I'll be presenting to you the Provincial Parliament Standing Committee on Mobility, the readiness of the e-hailing and meter taxi industry for implementation of the National Land Transport Amendment Act 23 of 2023. Our agenda items are the following: the readiness to implement Act 23 of 2023, commuter safety, update for e-hailing and meter taxis, the provincial government support and actions, key grievances, statistics, and recommendations. Our executive summary is as follows. The Western Cape E-Hailing Association, WECIA, recognizes the continued precarious socio-economic position of all operators in the e-hailing sector, especially drivers who are subjected to gross exploitation by transnational app companies. Further recognizing our diverse social, cultural, religious, and national ethnic makeup, composition as operators in the e-hailing sector, and the urgent need to build a coherent, united, democratically controlled, and independent organizational vehicle to advance the interests of operators in the industry. Therefore, we commit ourselves to tirelessly build the association in an effort to eradicate all forms of exploitation and discrimination against our members and digital transport platform workers. Our historical background is essentially a product of a fusion between two main organizations, namely the Cape Town E-Hailing Association and Cape Town Drivers Association. One of them was mainly composed of local e-hailing drivers and operators, and the other by African foreign e-hailing drivers and operators. A meeting was called by the leaders of these two organizations in June 2022 to put their differences aside, join forces, and form one united movement in pursuit of a common goal, which is to represent e-hailing operators and drivers in the Western Cape province of South Africa, recognizing the precarious socio-economic position and gross exploitation they face from transnational app companies like Uber, Bolt, and InDriver. The association's historical background is rooted in the broader struggles of e-hailing drivers against what we describe as exploitative practices by app companies, which began long before 2016 and have worsened over time. The following registered social entrepreneurs, including drivers and owner drivers, are some of the members amongst many represented by the association. To conclude our executive summary, we've noted that the legislative change formally recognizes e-hailing, introduces new licensing and PRE duties. We've noted also significant readiness gaps persist, such as licensing backlog, technology and compliance disparities, also driver protections. We've noted commuter and driver safety remains a pressing operational risk with recorded protests and violence. The Western Cape government has opened application windows and is processing licenses. Progress is visible, but capacity constrained. We recommend that targeted licensing surge, safety protocol standardization, and conditional funding and oversight. Our legislative overview of Act 23 of 2023. Here are the following few key items. We've noted it creates a distinct category for e-hailing services, which formalizes operating licenses pathway for Section 66A+. This empowers the provisional regulatory entity to issue, amend, suspend, and withdraw licenses. It also requires alignment with the Municipal Integrated Transport Plans, ITPS, and Planning Authority directions. It introduces compliance conditions related to driver verification, vehicle standards, and safety reporting. The readiness of the Western Cape for licensing and the supply of demand. The city's demand assessment, it has a requirement of 6,600 legal meter taxi and e-hailing operators in the city of Cape Town. Of those registered valid operating license on the PTR system, about 5,494 have been confirmed, and the shortfall of 1,106 licenses to meet the demand. On the bottom right, there's a statistical graph there that shows you the difference between 2023, the shortfall from 2023 and the shortfall in 2025. The PREEM must also act per planning authority. The quota and ITPS constraints limit the rapid issuance of licenses. The application windows were opened by the Western Cape government and announcements were made on the 25th of June, 2025. Processing is underway, but like I said, backlog remains. The readiness for the industry in terms of operation and compliance. Many of our drivers lack clarity on license class changes and required documentation, of which this has proven to be one of the main key issues as to why our drivers are unable to really secure permits because of lack of clarity on license class changes and required documentation. An example would be proof of address for informal settlements in terms of whether it's a single dwelling or multiple dwelling. Those information aren't really clear to the general public, which causes high administrative friction. The platform companies and independent operators show uneven compliance maturity in terms of CPC, safety features, the meter, or even the booking reconciliation. There is plenty of deactivation disputes. Vehicle age rules, social security and insurance gaps affect thousands of drivers, which forms part of our grievances previously. What is needed is a centralized guidance pack, fast-track verification desks, and an industry compliance portal. What's also needed is to foster a culture where data is integral to decision-making at all levels. This involves encouraging operators and drivers to use data for their decisions and providing the necessary tools and training. The association needs funding of sophisticated analytics tools to analyze large data sets and gain actionable insights. These tools help in making accurate predictions and improving overall business performance in the industry. For commuter and driver safety, the current landscape stands as the following. We've had repeated driver protests and strikes in the 2024 till 2025 recently by the Western Cape E-Hailing Association and other groups citing deactivations and safety failures. We've had isolated violent incidents and confrontations with other transport operators reportedly nationally, causing operational risks to commuters stemming from arson and extortion. The Western Cape E-Hailing Association has highlighted unfair deactivations, lack of platform protections in terms of panic buttons, dash cams, social protection, rapid SAPS response unit, and vehicle age restrictions. There are safety weaknesses, such as inconsistent reporting protocols, variable platform incident response times, gaps in prosecutions. The following are our e-hailing and meter taxi hotspots. The sources of our data is from SAPS as well as other verified sources, which will be displayed at the end. So Philippi, Nyanga, Brown Farm, Danun, and Tafelsig, amongst many, Cape Flats, Kailicha, Mitchells Plain, Cape Town CBD, the Waterfront, Stellenbosch, Somerset West, the City CBD, around Sea Point, and the airport precinct where we mainly operate, are one of our main hotspots. In the Cape Flats areas, Kailicha, Mitchells Plain, and so forth, the primary causes are high crime and gang activity related, causing mainly more on driver safety risks. And the priority action that is needed is hotspot policing and rapid response teams. In terms of Cape Town, CBD, and the waterfront areas, the main issues we are faced there is high demand in terms of platform surge and vehicle impoundments. The priority action that is needed there is permit enforcement clarity, parking, and a rank management. In terms of the Stellenbosch and the Somerset area, the main issues we face there are rural commuter demand spikes in terms of driver and also driver deactivations. The priority that we are really looking forward to, their priority actions are mobile verification desks and outreach. In the City Bowl or the Sea Point area, most of our concerns are nighttime safety risks in terms of late night pickups. We would require priority action in terms of driver education and rider education, real-time incident reporting. As for the airport precinct, we have high value rides and fare disputes and rank congestion. The priority action there would be dedicated airport, e-hailing bay, and enforcement. In terms of our data transparency challenges, as the digital economy expands, businesses face several challenges that need to be addressed to fully capitalize on data and AI opportunities. Therefore, multinational e-hailing companies cannot, I repeat, cannot continue to have monopoly over data, resulting in our municipalities being forced to enter into non-disclosure agreements to get data from these multinational app companies. What does this mean? It means data privacy and security, protecting sensitive data and meeting local privacy laws is essential. Data quality and accuracy. Accurate data is crucial for reliable information and investigations. Integration and management. Managing and integrating data from PRE, app companies, consultants, and associations. Regulatory compliance. Adhering to evolving data regulations is necessary to avoid legal issues. In terms of safety, we have recommended practical interventions. The following: mandate standardized incident reporting and 24/7 escalation channel between platforms, PRE, and subs. Require platform minimums such as panic buttons, dash cams, verified emergency contacts, in-trip recording retention policy. A joint provincial rapid response teams for hotspotting, policing, and mediation involving PRE, municipal safety directorates, and the industry representatives. Driver education campaigns on conflict avoidance, digital evidence preservation, and rider screening best practices are critically needed. With Kia's grievances and protests in the past, we've selected a few highlights, such as the submission of our memorandum to the MEC of Mobility on the Honorable Minister Isaac Sileko on the 17th of September 2024, where our formal list of grievances and requests for urgent intervention were stipulated. Series of monthly protests in the late 2024 and 2025 over deactivations persisted. Vehicle age policy and slow permit processing. Strike actions across provinces earlier this year, where we stood in solidarity with our counterparts, where we highlighted the national nature of our issues. The industry message we have is demands are socio-economic and operational in nature, meaning our social protection and licensing and safety issues need to be addressed. The Western Cape government's actions and support thus far, amongst many. They have opened applications for the meter taxi and e-hailing licenses, and the public notice was issued in June 2025. Published some guidance with a mandate to align licenses with the municipal ITPs, processing commitments publicly stated. The provincial mobility and city joint statements confirming the demand assessments and quota allocations. There are, however, programmatic support pending. So we have a few recommendations for conditional support funding for compliance upgrades, training, technology, and so forth. We've also received support in terms of the establishment of an EMT, e-hailing meter taxi council, a working group, which is currently still in progress. There are some gaps. There is a gap analysis where reality diverges from the law. from policy into practice. The Act creates duties, but pre-resourcing and municipal ITP constraints slow implementation. The operational capacity, there is limited verification centers, slow background checks, and inconsistent platform compliance. In terms of safety versus enforcement, the incident reporting exists, but prosecution and swift enforcement are uneven. And in terms of our economic impact, these deactivations and vehicle age rules reduce drivers' incomes and increasing social political risk. Our recommendations are pragmatic and measurable. One of them is a rapid licensing surge to allocate emergency processing teams and temporary waivers for administrative barriers in terms of the rapid licensing surge. In terms of the safety standard baseline, mandate dash cams, panic buttons, plus a 120-second incident acknowledgement service level agreement for platforms. Mediation mechanism, a provincial conciliation desk for deactivations and driver disputes within 14 days. Fourthly, for data and KPI reporting, a monthly PRE dashboard on licenses issued, incidents, response times, and prosecutions. And fifth, but not lastly, a pilot funding, conditional grants for driver safety technology, training, social protection, and insurance top-ups for a period of 6 to 12 months. In terms of the implementation of that pilot and the KPIs for 6 to 12 months, for the first 2 months, we proposed an emergency license processing team that is stood up and it does the checklist published. And in the next fourth month, a safety technology updates implemented, a pilot rapid response team also established. And in the next 6 months, a full PRE dashboard, live, mediation desk operation, evaluation, and scaling decisions. As for KPIs, license issued per month, incident response SLAs for compliance, deactivation appeals resolved, and prosecutions initiated. In terms of our budgeting and resourcing, we have an indicative budget. One of funds for emergency processing hub would be then going to admin staff, IT, outreach, and it's estimated at a range of 2 million to 5 million. For the pilot safety technology funding, the driver panic button subsidy and the dash cam subsidy, social protection and insurance top-up would be estimated at 3 million initial pilot, at the initial pilot. In terms of the operational costs for rapid response and mediation desk, an estimated 1.5 million per year for the staff and coordination is stipulated. And our recommendation is to explore donations, national conditional grants, and platform co-funding agreements. In conclusion, and I ask to the Standing Committee of Mobility, we accept that the Act 23 formalizes e-hailing. What is now required is a pragmatic, fast, and accountable implementation process. We request the committee to support the prioritization of licensing process, the prioritization to process licenses in terms of its resources, endorse a mandated safety standards, such as mandatory dash cams and mandatory panic buttons, which is already in the Act, and also monitor KPIs monthly. We also recommend the formation of a committee oversight subgroup consisting of 3 members to engage the city and the industry fortnightly for the first 3 to 6 months. And we, in conclusion, submit the clear need to regulate the role of consultants to mitigate against corruption and collusion. The following sources could be found in order for you to reference the presentation that has just been presented. We thank you. You can then find out more information on our website, www.wikia.org. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Please hold on to the questions plus also the response from the government. Let's hear from the ECAPs. Thank you very much, and you were on time.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of time, we will try and move fast, although we want to be as practical as we can be. In our presentation will flow as follows. Sorry, just a moment. Okay. It's a bit slow, yeah. Okay. Our presentation will flow as follows. We will have some comments in the beginning for introduction, and then talk about who is ECABS, and then the implementation of the new regulations, how the industry is ready. We'll talk about commuter safety and the support we've received from the Western Cape government. Honorable members, you may know that at the moment, Cape Town is the best city in the world, preferred by tourists, and that is as per Telegraph Awards. So clearly, as Cape Town, there's a lot of good things that we're doing. We are mentioning this because then we're going to link it to the new regulations and how that may be affected. Moving forward, previously, fare calculation was done by a traditional metered device. This was installed in the vehicle, calibrated, sealed by the City of Cape Town at Greenpoint Traffic Department. At the moment, meters are unavailable in the country. Currently, technology has evolved and we have adopted technology. So fare calculation right now is done by smartphones. Those smartphones have application software, normally called apps, and they use GPS and algorithms. We're also mentioning this because then it ties into the new regulations and we will highlight those parts. Right, the industry is also evolving. The metered taxi industry has transformed. We have more younger operators. Clients expect to travel in newish vehicles, and the technology is also improving, and there's a lot of internet connectivity. This, again, links to the new regulations, as we'll see. Right. Who is ECABS? We are a non-profit organization made up of operating license holders. Members are volunteers in the industry. The executive has an experience of more than 100 years. So if we combine the members, we are looking at over 500 years of experience. Our prime mandate is to formalize and improve the industry, upskill drivers to become sustainable and improve driver public safety through driver skills with possible mandatory training courses. We also aim to lobby for better working conditions, standards of operators and drivers. Our approach is through dialogue and scientific research. The e-hailing industry, the ECABS or the metered taxi e-hailing industry is a door-to-door industry. Right, moving on to the implementation of the new regulations. How ready is the industry? Honorable members, there are some good improvements in the regulations. There are some poor sections, we must be honest. And then there's going to be some implementation issues. So please bear with us. We're going to try and go as practical as possible. In terms of good improvements, we welcome the fact that there is now jurisdiction within the Republic of South Africa where if there are any remedial challenges, they can then be done within the Republic without having to travel to go to where the company is judicially yes, pardon me, without going to a different jurisdiction. Yes. And then we also welcome the fact that these minimum requirements for the operators. We also welcome the part where now e-hailing platforms must share their information. So for the bulk of our discussion, we will then deal with the implementation areas where we feel we need to work together in order to have a seamless industry. And as we alluded to this in the beginning, initially tariffs were calculated by a meter that is installed in the vehicle. Now it's done by a phone. And we see a challenge here in terms of implementation because there is nothing connecting to the vehicle. One has the app in their phone. When they walk out of the vehicle is on its own, and fare calculation there becomes an issue. So this again ties to the Cape Town being the best city in the world. If we are going to offer a sustainable service, if we are going to maintain our vehicles, if we are going to be able to offer our clients a good service, then we need to be able to keep the vehicles in good condition, and we need to be able to earn a decent tariff, a decent fare. And for that to happen, our request in the practice note is that in the process of registering the e-hailing platforms, let there be a stage where the e-hailing platforms then can acknowledge and can consent to implementing the tariffs as set out in the operating license wording. Another thing that came up was the e-receipt. The wording in the regulation suggests that the operator must issue the e-receipt. Yet, technically, operations and processes are done through the app. So the app should be the one that should issue the e-receipt. And when I say the app, in context, I mean the app platform. Right. There is a part in the regulations that says the operator must only operate on the app. This is problematic for, I'll give two examples. For example, if the operator is requested by their neighbor to take them to the mall, practically, according to the regulations, it would mean the operator must go on the app, the neighbor must go on the app, then request, then be taken. And we know in real life that is going to be practically problematic. Our request is that the operator should not be penalized if they are operating and they are not on the app. Another example that I can give here is the transport travel demand model strategy for the city of Cape Town is coming up, where they're encouraging employers to book transport for their teams in order to alleviate the traffic in the city. So now let's look at an example where an employer is interested. They have joined the travel demand strategy and they're like, okay, let's do this. And they have a team, let's say a team of 5. They want to request for a station wagon, a 7-seater. And over time, they get comfortable with an operator. It means they cannot then have an arrangement with that operator outside the app, because if the operator is then performing their, offering their service, as per interpretation of the regulation, that will be a challenge. Right. The other thing where we see issues is the additional authority, where we have been given 180 days as of the 12th of September to convert to operate to e-hailing operating licenses. The challenge here is the time is not enough, and some of the stakeholders who must assist us, also, some of them are not ready. And some of the operating licenses are different operating licenses. Some of them are indefinite, some of them are rank, and so on. So the processing of those operating licenses may not be complete within that time. The other challenge we see is the linkage between the e-hailing platform to the permit. So the regulations suggest that if an e-hailing platform or a company closes, that operating license will become null and void. Now that's problematic because the operating license was issued to the operator, separate from the e-hailing platform. So we find that that will be very, very difficult for the operator now to lose work because a certain other company closed. Similar,
there is another part that mentions the driver linkage to the permit, where they say if the driver has misbehaved, then the permit must be taken away. The challenge with this is that the behavior of the driver is separate from the behavior of the operator, unless the operator is the same person who is the driver. So our request here is that the remedial process for the driver misbehavior should be separate from the remedial process of the operator usage of the operating license. Panic buttons, we find this problematic because the regulation points us to trucking companies, but the mandate of trucking companies is to find telematic data, recover vehicles, not necessarily to respond to incidents of robbery and car hijackings. And from here, I'll give a chance to my colleague, Nizam, to discuss further and also take us through the security and safety measures. I thank you. Nizam, please go for it.
Honorable Chairperson, members of the committee, colleagues and guests. My name is Nizam. I serve as the Safety and Security Portfolio Manager for eCabs. I'm going to try and save some time here. The e-hailing and meter taxi industry forms an essential part of South Africa's mobility network, as we all know. We transport workers, students, tourists, and the most vulnerable members of our society. Yet, despite our contribution, this industry remains one of the least understood, least protected, and most inconsistently regulated transport modes in the country. Commuter safety cannot be an afterthought. It must be embedded in every policy, every operating license, and every digital platform that moves passengers across our cities. The current safety challenges that we are facing within our industry is unvetted drivers and vehicles. Whilst many operators comply fully with licensing and vetting requirements, a significant number of unlicensed or unvetted drivers continue to operate. This undermines commuter trust and exposes the public to unnecessary risk. The lack of uniform national standards, regulations differ from city to city and province to province. This inconsistency makes enforcement weak and fragmented, leaving gaps that criminals and illegal operators easily exploit. Inadequate law enforcement support. Drivers who comply with the law often face the harshest treatment, while illegal operators continue without consequence. Our challenges include friction and conflict between operating license holders and non-licensed operators, officers lacking training and industry processes, drivers and passengers stranded at night after vehicles have been impounded, aggression, extortion, and lack of empathy towards legal operators. Technological gaps. While apps provide tracking and emergency features, these systems are not integrated with SAPs or municipal enforcement structures. Real-time incident tracing and response remain severely limited. Violence and crime against drivers, passengers, and operating license holders, or investors, as we may also call them. Hijackings, robberies, kidnapping, assault, intimidation, and asset damage have increased sharply. Drivers and commuters navigate daily risks with very little to no structural support. Daily challenges in the industry that our drivers face: entering high-risk townships and unsafe areas without police support, threats from criminals, extortion groups and syndicates, unpredictable income and exploiting pricing structures, harassment by enforcement officials and illegal operators, no secure or designated pickup and drop-off points, passengers using fake numbers, refusing payment, or behaving aggressively. High vehicle maintenance costs with limited financial relief, inadequate emergency response systems, hijacking, robberies, and even death of our drivers, impounding and extortion by taxi associations. Our commuters face difficulty verifying whether a vehicle is legal or safe, fake vehicles impersonating e-hailing operators, fear of traveling at night due to crime, price surges and cancellations, safety risks at unsecured pickup areas, limited recourse when reporting unsafe incidents. Operating license holders and investors, we face pressure to intervene in dangerous areas, to assist drivers entering volatile townships during protests or threats, balancing compliance costs while illegal operators work freely, lack of communication channels with enforcement, responsibility for ensuring safety across multiple vehicles. Our recommendations are to strengthen commuter, driver, and investor safety. As ECABs, we'd like to propose the following: an establishment of a national regulatory framework, a uniform policy standardizing driver vetting, safety requirements, and licensing across all provinces. Mandatory background screening. Although the legislation calls for SAP 69 criminal screening, this check is incomplete as it does not display pending criminal matters. A HURU screening is more accurate and detects pending cases. Integrated safety technology. Platforms must integrate with SAPs and municipal systems for real-time alerts, incident reporting, and direct emergency response capabilities. Passenger awareness campaigns, public education on verifying vehicles, identifying illegal operators, and reporting unsafe behavior. Stronger enforcement and proper training. Enforcement officers must be trained to distinguish legal from illegal operators, end harassment, and apply the law fairly and consistently. Creation of a joint safety council, a dedicated industry-wide safety council, including SAPs, government platforms, and industry bodies to track safety trends and coordinate interventions similar to SAPs, a minibus unit, but focused on the EMT, the e-hailing meter taxi sector. Establishment of an independent e-hailing meter taxi council. We call for a nationally recognized council dedicated exclusively to represent operating license holders and legal operators. Its importance includes providing a unified, unbiased voice for the industry, ensuring that operating license holders and investors are part of decision-making and regulatory development, offering neutral dispute resolution and structured communication, supporting government with accurate industry data, promoting ethical conduct and compliance, strengthening safety oversight for both commuters and drivers, bridging the gap between enforcement platforms and operators. An independent council is essential for a fair, safe, and well-regulated sector. Panic buttons. We often have criminals that disable the vehicle electronics or remove them from the vehicle entirely, which renders an installed panic system useless. True safety requires mobile discrete driver control solutions, such as an app-based or wearable panic triggers that can be activated without alerting criminals, not fixed buttons that cannot be accessed in moments of extreme threat. In conclusion, Chairperson and members, commuter safety is not only about avoiding accidents or preventing crime. It is about dignity. It is about creating a transport system built on trust, reliability, and protection for both passengers and drivers. Our drivers are frontline workers who operate under daily threat. Our commuters deserve peace of mind when they travel. Our OL holders, our operating license holders, and investors need support, not punishment, for ensuring compliance. ECAB stands ready to work with government to build a unified, safe, and properly regulated industry, one where every South African can travel securely. Together, let us move towards a future defined by safety, fairness, and accountability. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, that was on time. You wanted to add something?
Yes, sorry, Chair, we haven't done the support from industry. Can you give us 5 minutes for that?
Sorry?
The support, government support, we haven't finished our.
Oh, it's because you were clapping the hands. I
Sorry,
thought.
No, it was just a great speech you just gave. I will trim it down as quick
Okay.
as I.
Oh, you wanted this
Yes,
this
it
last
was
slide.
five.
Okay.
If you don't
Oh,
mind,
okay.
I'll take 20 minutes into 5. Chair, I just wanted to talk quickly about national government because what they haven't done obviously affects what happens in the province. At the moment, 21% of South Africa uses e-hailing, and we turn over approximately 7 billion in South Africa alone. So it's a huge industry. The regulations, in my opinion, have been an absolute disaster. Currently, the apps that want to register with NPTR, which is a problem on its own within tourism, no one understands why they were given the task. But in order for them to register to allow the members to apply for operating licenses is now stalled. And yeah, it's a big problem for the industry. And there's no answer in sight. I've appealed to the minister. I've also asked the minister to consider the vehicle markings. You know, we have a lot of violence and crime in the Western Cape, and we've asked her to consider exempting our vehicles from having markings on the sides of the vehicle. I've got an acknowledgement, but we haven't got an answer on that yet. And apparently only she can provide that exemption. We had the Competition Commission inquiry over the years, 2018 and 2019. One of their findings was that we must have a national structure. We've beaten this thing to death, that we've asked them for it, and nothing's happened. As it is, they're still discussing this particular issue with Santaco aligned structures. And as industry, we believe we're an independent mode of transport, and we don't want to be aligned to any other mode, especially in minibuses. Technology in the app, they've left out a lot of advanced technology. It's taken 10 years for this act to be passed, and we just feel over those 10 years, technology has already advanced. With electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles in the States, you've got 22,000 autonomous vehicles on the road. It's something that's going to happen. It's on its way. Registered 400,000 users of autonomous vehicles. So it's something we need to be considering, and there's nothing in legislation about that. I'm skipping where I can. On to provincial government. Me personally, I've worked with 6 MECs. As a structure, we've always had to go through the Premier in order to get a reply. Things are slowly changing. Yeah, look forward to a better approach. EMT, e-hailing meter taxi council, this has been established, and we really take our hats off to the mobility department. We think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for the industry to fall under a single banner, a single entity. And also, I just want to quickly add that the HOD did provide us with a letter supporting the drivers on the road when they were pulled off by provincial traffic because they were out of area where legislation does allow us, and they kindly wrote a letter, and most of the vehicles now carry this letter, and it has prevented a lot of impounds over the time. So thank you for that. The PRE, I must say, and Mr. Skrike is sitting next to me, so it is an exceptionally well-run institution. We have no major issues with the PRE. We've worked well over the years. We've had problems with the meter. My colleague spoke about the old traditional meter. Mr. Skrike called us together and he says, how do we solve this? My colleague behind me, the barber of the industry, he was the official installer over the years, and we just can't get them anymore. And Mr. Skrike sat with us and he says, right, I'm going to draft a letter for you. And we have a letter now, so we have 2 letters in our vehicles to say that we can operate without the old traditional meter, and that e-hailing vehicles are also allowed to do similar work. Communication, fantastic communication. Now, we've had problems in the past where we weren't advised on issues, but now they do send out SMS notifications, and we are kept up to speed and not just see a notice stuck on the wall in at the pre. The introduction of the PTRS, that's when you can apply for an operating license online. You don't have to go into the office. I work with my national structure, Samtafu, and I don't know of another province that does that. And it's really been a revelation for us. When we have law change regulations, we always sit down with the Mr. Skrake and his team, and they've always been proactive. And we find that a great help for the industry. We work towards a goal. I must include the City of Cape Town as a metro that played a big role in how we operate. The IPC, the Intermodal Planning Committee, it was removed from legislation. But Lee van den Berg, who chairs the IPC, together with the province, have decided to continue this engagement where we all sit around a table every 3 months or so, and we discuss all the issues around our industry. And of course, we get a lunch from Mr. Hendricks. Thank you for that. Demand model, a needs analysis they undertook, and we now at 6,500 operating licenses. We feel that there needs to be data, and my colleague just mentioned that data will be available from the apps, and maybe that figure could be looked at in the future. But right now, as industry, we together with the city and the province, we agreed on that figure. So we support that. The empowerment and mobility, my last point, Chair, empowerment and formalization. Mr. Hendricks, just next to me here, we've had our differences in the past, but I can always say that government has made his office available to us. We have equipment, we have the conference rooms, and we do make good use of it. And I must say we appreciate that. Advocate Reid, a year ago, sat down with us, and we shared our concerns, and we asked him about a new structure. And it's been a year later, wheels do turn eventually, and we have this fantastic idea of an EMT council, which we are now 3/4 of the way through of setting it up. Some hiccups here and there, but things we can work through. We've also asked that, Chair, that the DDAT, it's not meter taxis and it's not mobility, but DDAT does work with technology, and not only economic development, but also tourism, things like tour guiding. Perhaps there could be a subsidy towards tour guiding, and also their technology. We would like to see them be part of our growth. Yeah, so let's do some. Sorry, I'm trying to cut it where I can here. But as an industry, I say we do lots to do, and working with government for a safer, compliant, and a sustainable mode. And it is within our reach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the two presentations. We are going to ask the department to respond more specifically, generally on the issues of we have listened, but there's an issue of the challenges in the implementation of the regulations, the issues of the safety, and then on the operating licenses, it was also going to be part of your presentation. So my point is about, you don't have to do the whole of your presentation that won't talk to what they are actually saying. So if you could have that, and then we will have the members to ask the questions. So that when the members ask the questions, you will have responded on some of the issues that are pertaining to the governments. Thank you. Is that you, Mr. Hendricks, or the minister wants to start?
No, Chair, I'm just saying I support your approach, and I think it's important that we were listening, and it would help us that we don't repeat the same thing. And then some of the issues that need clarity, we are able to clarify. And also, I think what is important, we need to also, iron out the responsibilities, where does what it emanates from, because there's been a lot of talk about the regulations. There's some issues about the implementation of the regulations, and which is not in our competence. And I think those are the kind of issues that we need to look at and try to respond to. And also in terms of the safety, and I think it's important to see what is it that we are doing. And also in terms of the backlog, according to my understanding, I don't have any backlog. in terms of mobility. So that statement needs to be clarified if it's such or not. And the recommendations from the different presenters. No, I don't know, one comment on that. And yeah, I think we just stick to that, Chair. Thank you very much.
Minister, I will do the presentation, but I'm just waiting on Advocate Reed just to flight it.
The operator.
He's the operator. Yeah.
But in the presentation must talk to what they.
I think it does. It does, Chair.
Okay, thanks.
So, Honorable Chair members, I'll be as brief as possible. Let me just say that, you know, the presentation was prepared in response to the letter that we received from the Standing Committee. So we've answered all of those questions. But also right off the bat, while we're struggling with to get the presentation up, let me say that our role as public servants and as a PRE is to provide as much guidance and assistance as is reasonably possible to allow operators to comply. That's the first thing. Secondly, just on the issue of demand, because I sometimes get a feeling that, you know, a lot of people think it's free market competition, but it's regulated competition. So the need for the service must still be demonstrated. We are dependent on the municipalities and their demand calculations, and all state departments are bound by the provisions of integrated transport plans. So we cannot grant a license if the municipality says no, Chair. I see the industry was quick to have their presentations up. Eh? We must move with the times.
I think do others have got the copies? Probably, maybe they can.
It's just the online colleagues, Chair. The online colleagues. I don't know if they have copies.
Those copies they were sent electronic, so we can continue whilst the IT is busy with that.
Okay, so Chair, our presentation will cover the current state of operating licenses in the province. We will deal with the extent of illegal operations. There we go. If we can just move on to the next slide. There we go. So we'll deal with the readiness of the department to implement the new regulations and the Act. And then lastly, the support provided to e-hailing and meter taxi to the industry. So the first thing I want to show, Chair, is the state of operating licenses in the province. So if we can move to the first slide and just bring that up. And you must excuse me, I can't see. Just go one back. One back, just that table. So that's the modal split at the moment, Chair and members. So you'll see that minibus taxis, local minibus taxis is just over 15,500. The other dominant category is charter. Those are organized parties. So it's a previous special hire. So that's also one of the big categories. And a lot of operating licenses have more than one category on. So you can have local minibus taxi plus charter. Therefore, you can't just aggregate the numbers. The unique total is right on top. So in the province, we've got 37,751 unique operating licenses. Then what I've pulled out from PTRS, Chair, is the number of applications currently pending with the PRE. Those are all transaction types: renewals, transfers, new applications, replacement of vehicles. So there's a total of 10,053 applications pending with the PRE currently. And if you look at the meter taxi category, I've put everything under meter taxi because prior to 12 September, we issued e-hailing as a subcategory of meter taxi. So they can do both. That's the letter that Mr. Drummond was referring to. So we've got 6,076 current active meter taxi licenses in the system, and there's 1,901 pending applications. So if you can switch to the next slide, it's exactly the same information, but just in graphic format so that you can see charter and minibus taxis. Those are the bulk. And if we move along to the next one, it's the pending applications, exactly what was on the first slide. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. The next slide is the number of completed applications for the financial year. So for this financial year, the first one is over-the-counter transactions. So those are transactions where we don't have to publish, we don't have to refer to municipalities. We do it on the same day. So for the year, we've completed 8,517 over-the-counter transactions. For the meter taxi category, 548. The next slide deals with renewals and transfers. Again, here we don't have to publish in the government gazette. We have to publish on the notice boards. So there's no lead time, and the turnaround times generally for renewals and transfers are better. And you'll see we've completed 2,895 applications. The next slide is your new applications and applications for additional authority. There we have to publish in the government gazette and also refer to municipalities for directions. So we stuck with that 21-day period and also with the 30-day comment period for municipalities. But a total of 6,077 applications have been disposed of. Now, on the next slide, I want to spend some time, Chair, because we heard about a permit backlog and slow processing of operating licenses. And really, I don't know where that's coming from, because I can go into PTRS live now and draw a report of applications that's outside of 60 days, and you'll see zero. So those are the turnaround times. So you can see for over-the-counter transactions for the various months, even if we take 1 day, I know the NPTR takes 2 years with the over-the-counter transaction. Some of the other entities takes 2 weeks, and so we do it in under 1 day. So those are the average turnaround times extracted from PTRS. For renewals and transfers, it's very low. It's below 30 days, and the legislated time frame is 60 days. So the moment that 21-day period is over, we immediately take a decision. And even for government gazette applications, we're still below the 60 days. The average turnaround time is 43 days. I'm not saying that here and there's not an application that goes out of 60 days, but what we do is we capture the reasons for that, and we try to communicate with the clients. You know, Bernie at the back, our director for the administration, always reminds me that service delivery is an ongoing journey. You're never at the top. You must always review your processes and look at better ways of doing things. So those are the turnaround times. So I just want to controvert what was said earlier, that there are backlogs. There is no backlog at the moment. In terms of our readiness, Chair, to implement the new act and the regulations, and I just want to say that with the regulations, we've given substantial input. A lot of our inputs have been written into law. But I must agree with the industry that some of the provisions is a bit vexing. And also, I foresee that there will be implementation challenges, and there could be amendments to the second National Land Transport Regulations. So the first point I want to make on this slide is, prior to 12 September, everything was issued as meter taxis. We issued, if we roll it along, we issued ranked meter taxi licenses. We issued base meter taxi licenses. And because of the wording in the definition that says a vehicle can be hailed by telephone or otherwise, we basically issued e-hailing as a subcategory of meter taxis as well. Just go back, just one back. And National and the Transport Appeals Tribunal agreed with us on that. 12 September, the Amendment Act was implemented, and the second National Land Transport Regulations. It now provides for e-hailing as a separate passenger category. So now you've got, in your definitions, you've got meter taxi separate with its own requirements. You've got e-hailing separate with its own requirements as well. So that's from 12 September. The next slide, Chair, is just the responsibility matrix. Just stop it, if we can just stop it there. So I think the minister earlier said we need to figure out, you know, who's responsible for what. And instead of putting all of the information, you know, on the different regulations on there, I thought, you know, it's more prudent to do a responsibility matrix. So the first thing is what National is supposed to do. I think Mr. Drummond mentioned that the app providers must be registered with National. If you can just stop it there. So they must be registered with National. That process, Mr. Drummond, is currently underway. So we can't take in e-hailing applications unless the app provider and the app has been registered by National. On Friday, we met with National for 3 hours. That SOP has now been circulated to the PREs. So there is and I can just very briefly explain that process. The app provider must pay 5,000 Rand. They must fill in application form 9A. They will publish it, but only for 14 days. They will be required to come to a hearing to do a demonstration, and they need a ICASA certificate as well. So once they've been registered, National will issue a registration certificate, and they will circulate it to all the PREs because it's national. You can operate anywhere. Once we receive those certificates, we can then take in e-hailing specific applications. Now, I think some of my colleagues mentioned that they've got 6 months to convert. 2 months of that 6 months have elapsed already because National wasn't ready with the registration of app providers. So I think that we will have to revisit and give the operators a full 6 months to convert. And the consolation with the conversion is, even if you apply 2 days before that end of the 6-month period, you can still operate, provided that you have applied for the conversion to the PRE. So that's the national responsibility. They have to do that. In terms of the PRE, we are obviously responsible for the issuance of the operating licenses. And if you look at Regulation 18, you must produce the agreement with the platform provider. So that is now a prerequisite. And even if we issue that license and subsequent to that, you join another platform provider, you have to notify us within 48 hours, and we then have to amend the operating license. Our responsibility also is to make sure that all the submission requirements are met. And let me just say that, you know, for e-hailing, you need a SAP 69 report. So that's a criminal record clearance report for the drivers. That's number one. Secondly, there must be a declaration to say there's no pending investigations against the driver in South Africa or in any other country. The driver's PRDP and his driving license must be submitted. The vehicle must be properly marked, and that may be an issue from a safety point of view. And I think collectively we need to see how we can deal with that, because I know some of the vehicles are targeted, especially in the hotspot areas. So we are not you know, ignorant of those things. We need to discuss it with the industry and find a way forward, even though we have to comply with the regulations. And then, of course, there must be a panic button in the vehicle. That's another area of concern that we need to address. On the national side, when they register the platform providers, what is needed there is the entity must be incorporated in terms of South African law, or they must be permanent residents. They must have premises in South Africa. I think that was mentioned, and there must be an online presence as well. And then on the app provider side, colleagues, they also have certain responsibilities. Now, I can tell you, and a lot of the operators are unhappy about this. They've written this like they've written the provisions for contracted services. So when a municipality enters into a contract, if they vary that contract or amend it or cancel it, we must cancel the operating licenses. Here they've done the same. Regulation 20 deals with access to the infrastructure, what must happen, the telephone must be rekeyed, all of those things. If they decide, and again, based on the driver, so it's this issue of vicarious liability, you know, where they hold the owner responsible for the driver's behavior, they must also follow a certain process. So the law now says if the intention is to suspend or cancel the access, they need to give you a 48-hour notice with the reasons, and you must comment on those reasons. But the moment they take a decision to suspend or to cancel, that license must be handed in within 48 hours, and they must notify the PRE within 48 hours. My question is, what does the PRE do with that operating license? Because there's no provisions in law. We know that we can do a Section 79 hearing, but then we must also give that audi alteram partem opportunity to the owner, to the holder of that license, to come in and explain to us. So there should be some kind of mediation. So I'm just putting that out there as well. The next slide I've already covered on the process with National Chair, and then the support provided by the department. I think a lot was said by Mr. Drummond, but I can tell you if we go to the next slide, when the regulations and the act was in draft form, and remember they started in 2016 already with the Amendment Act, we did provide logistical support to the e-hailing and e-cabs to engage with their peers elsewhere in the country, to share information and to consolidate their inputs. So we've done that. The second one is we've had engagements with app providers, with Uber, with Bolt, to a lesser extent with InDrive, and around the concerns that was raised with us by the operators and the industry. Safety issues, the issue of panic buttons, fares, all of those things we've raised with the app providers. Mr. Drummond mentioned the IPC, the Intermodal Planning Committee, that's chaired by Mr. Lee van der Berg. I think that's been a great mechanism to share information with the industry. And some of the info out of the presentations was shared at that IPC committee. But there we also debate the demand analysis. How did they arrive at X amount of vehicles? You know, what are the requirements? What should the operator have? And I agree, if more clarity is needed, we can give more clarity around the documentation. We've done that. We've had engagements with national department and the drafters of the legislation, Chair. That took place on the 28th of September at the Medical Research Council, 28th of October, sorry. And there the industry was also able to ventilate some of their concerns. And what we have agreed is that there will be further consultation, but that will happen via Teams or on the Teams, a virtual platform. In terms of our engagements with the NPTR, like I said, we've given many inputs. A lot of that has been written into law, and we also assisted National with drafting those SOPs. The one for the app providers to register, but also for the application and the conversion process. And then lastly, I think enough was said about the attempt now from the department side to establish a representative structure for the industry and to get the e-hailing and e-cabs all under one banner. There is a working committee. We've compiled an interim constitution that will guide the electoral process and also give effect to that council. And once that council is established, we want to also establish a business arm, Kurt, and talk to DDAT about, you know, a business plan for the industry. So we've done that. I want to go back a couple of slides, and this is my final, this is my conclusion. If we can just go back to the current application process. Just one forward. If we go forward, there must be another slide after that. I think there's a slide missing. There is a slide missing on that presentation. So I think it should be in here. I've seen it. And I'll just talk to the slide if everyone can go to that one. I want to see where it is. There we go. So on the 1st of July, Chair, we opened applications for additional meter taxis and e-hailing. The City of Cape Town, as was indicated, they opened 1,106 spaces for e-hailing. I don't see that slide there, Minister, so I'll just talk to the actual handout. So we've taken in 1,119. I think it's this one here. Page number 8. Here we go. And sorry about that, colleagues. I don't see it in this version of the presentation. And sorry, members and then Chair. So we've taken in 1,119 applications. Some of those applications were cancelled due to inactivity or the correct documentations were not, attached. But in total, we've adjudicated 1,115 applications. 162 have been declined based on the recommendations from the municipality. So again, there will be spaces available after this process. That's the first point we have to make. In terms of applications approved, we've approved 953. So 953 decision letters were issued, positive decision letters. To date, 634 operating licenses have been uplifted. So there's still people sitting with decision letters out there. Now, here's the challenge, Chair and members of the committee. In many cases, Home Affairs came back to say that there's a discrepancy between what was submitted and what they have on their system. And as a result of that, some of the decision letters have lapsed. So what we've decided as a PRE is where the decision letter has lapsed as a result of that input from Home Affairs, we'll call even if the application letter has lapsed, we'll call that person in and we'll give that person an opportunity to state their views and to show us the engagements with Home Affairs and whatever they have. And if we're satisfied with the reasons, we will give that person another 60 days to uplift the operating license. The other challenge that we have is that a lot of the e-hailing companies are not providing the letter to give the applicant access to the infrastructure. So they're saying that that person is not on our books at the moment. We've got other members on our books that's not legalized yet. So why must we give the letter to that person? But remember, these were taken in as meter taxi stroke e-hailing. So it was before the 12th of September. And I think even there, we need to maybe just have a look at the lapse decision letters and see how we can assist. So we are amenable to that idea and sitting with the e-hailing association with ECAPS to see how we can resolve it. A lot of people have applied for extension. There is, you've got 60 days to uplift, but it's a once of 30 days. They have applied for that extension. We're busy processing it. And then there's about 85 decision letters that's still within the first 60 days that's still valid. There are no backlog applications, colleagues. And I think what we confuse sometimes is the period that we spend with the municipalities to try and convince them to legalize some of the operators. Our 60-day period only starts once you make payment. And then it starts counting down. And I can promise you, if you go in PTRS, you'll see that all of those 1,106 have been disposed of. Thank you very much, Chair and members of the committee.
Now over to the members. Can we take probably starting with the 2 questions per member, and then we'll see after their response. Also, do indicate whether you are asking the department or you are asking the stakeholders. Questions? Member Heron. No, I just wanted to see if there are others. Okay, not as yet. Okay, yeah.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for all the presentations. I'll start with the most recent input on the slide that wasn't presented, but the 953 applications approved, if I understand it correctly, those are e-hailing licenses. And are those the subcategory of the metered taxis, or is this the new regime? And the 953 that have approved, if we go back to the first presentation received from Western Cape E-Hailing Association, they spoke about 6,600 being the demand requirement for the city of Cape Town. So is it 953 e-hailing licenses under the old regime out of 6,600? Thanks.
Member Nlensu, by the way, the stakeholders can also ask the department on what they've presented. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me welcome the presentation from both Western Cape E-Hailing Association and ECAPS. The first question goes to, in fact, just a request that perhaps you consider sharing with us the memorandum submitted to Minister Silek. Now, that's the first thing. One want to establish whether the challenges you outlined, what is the experiences in other metros or provinces, and importantly, international, according to experience, and also how government has responded to the challenges you face. And I think it's important to highlight the fact that the issue of safety, the safety of drivers, and also the safety of commuters. I think ECAB made a proposal about a Butler Safety Council, which MEC, and maybe at some point we may need to talk about Public Transport Safety Council, so that we don't have a safety council for a Butler component of public transport, but ensure that at least it is established for all forms of public transport in the Western Cape. Also to the department, yes, attempts were made to respond to some of the issues, but what I like about the presentation from both e-hailing and association and ECAB, they have some important recommendations. Now, the big question is, having listened to what has been issues which have been raised and their own interface with yourselves, what do you believe is possible and not possible on what both e-hailing and ECAB are recommending for the best functioning of the of this important sector for our economy? And also, as a final point, Chair, you know, there is a fundamental crisis or dilemma that owners, I'm not going to use the term operator, owners of the taxis or, the cabs are made to suffer because of the sins of the drivers. And I think this is the same experience in the minibus taxi industry. What is it that can be done to ensure that at least government punishes the person who committed an offense than punishing the vehicle as well as the owner of the vehicle? You know, as that affect, well, remember, the driver has no obligation for installment, whereas the owner has an obligation to pay the car installment. So I know that some of the issues are the competence of municipalities. But what's your view on this particular question? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From the stakeholders, is that the ECAP? Yeah.
Chair, sorry, not to respond, not a reply to the questions, but I need to maybe just share with the committee that, and I see in your opening address you mentioned the e-hailing group and e-cabs. So just for reference, you know, the number of traditional metered taxis out on the road is probably 2% of those 6,500. I haven't got the exact numbers. Maybe my colleagues would know, but every permit that is out there is a metered taxi permit just by the wording of the legislation. But all of us represent e-hailing. And metered taxis, those that are out there, there's a few at the airport maybe, and there's a few at the waterfront. Other than that, all 6,500 are e-hailing permits. Due to legislation and now with the new issues that we got, we still cannot issue the new e-hailing permits. So we are all sitting with metered taxi permits, although we're not operating in the metered taxi space. It's just a legislative and maybe a bit antiquated, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
You know, I was referring to what is a Western Cape E-Hailing Association and also the e-cabs. So that's what I was trying to highlight in terms of the presentation. We are all aware that the new laws and all of those. So there's a question from, unfortunately, I was still going to say e-hailing. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mine is a specific one. I would like to ask the chairperson of PRE to just clarify when exactly will the application for specific e-hailing operating license be opened. Since we take it from the current legislation, e-hailing has been identified as a specific mode of public transport on its own. So I would like clarity on when specifically e-hailing operating license will be opened. And yeah, that's all for now. Thank you.
No questions from the ECAPs. Anything from the yeah.
Sorry, Chair. It's a question, Chair, to the Western Cape government. One, Chair, maybe I might be not accurate with numbers, but I will ask this question. There is a very big concern that happened on the previous, I think it was the moratorium that was lifted, whereby I think 2,642 permits were issued, if I'm correct with numbers. During that time, Chairperson, there's something that happened that concerned us a lot, that after the moratorium was being lifted, the application took place, and us as e-hailing drivers, most of us, we went to apply in numbers, but there was a requirement that the app companies were asking, a specific Uber, they were asking for receipt of proof that you have paid for an application of the permit, right? And that receipt, it was a receipt for you to able to have access to the app, meaning your document to be approved, your vehicle to be approved. So what happened is there was a time whereby the City of Cape Town delayed to issue us maybe with any information that can say that the permits they are no more, application is being closed, right? And the drivers, until today, that receipt is still is a requirement until today. We continue to apply, where even when there was the letter that was issued, we continued to apply. The app companies always ask for that receipt. The question that we have is that we were so desperate, even though we knew that the application is being closed, but we went to pay, and the Western Cape government was still receiving the money. So we are concerned. Even now, we still, like some of us, we did more than 2 applications, go again, because you're trying to put vehicle. It was a must on the app companies. But the question we're asking is that money that we paid when the application was closed, where did it went to? And the biggest concern, the same people who have applied for that particular, I think that there is a lot, I don't know the status yet, but my colleagues, they can confirm this. And we've been asking that why those people who applied when the application was closed, they're not being reimbursed their money back, because the money has been received by the government, knowing exactly that the application was closed. So that's my first question. The second question now, I know that we, as I said earlier when on my opening remarks, we are not here to attack, but we just want to get clarity on matters. There is an issue now currently whereby we are talking about meter taxi as a traditional meter taxi. I think my colleagues, they can also confirm that all the permit that has been issued, they were for meter taxi before regulation, right? I think there is something that the Western Cape government has mentioned now, that they cannot force the municipalities in terms of requesting for the permit from the Western Cape government. But the biggest problem that we have currently, we have tried in the association also to engage with the Stellenbosch municipality, because we have a concern there that our drivers who got permits here in the City of Cape Town, when they go to Stellenbosch, they will be issued ticket fines by the traffic officers. So it means now, if there are cities who are allowed not to be forced to do these applications for their own people in their communities, that means we continue having the same issue that we are having in Stellenbosch, because in Stellenbosch, we've been sitting with them in several meetings as an association. But unfortunately, we can see that the process has been delayed. One is blaming one another, one is saying another. But now the problem is that our drivers, they continuously getting ticket fines whenever they travel to Stellenbosch by the law enforcement. So I don't know how we can resolve that, but I feel like the government on its own, as the Western Cape government, they should prioritize to enforce this to the municipalities, that they need to allow their people to have permit if there is a demand there. Because like in Stellenbosch, there is a demand. Students are using e-hailing. But how come you say that you don't want to allow students to utilize that mode of transport, which is the easiest mode of transport? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pick up where my colleague just left off, Mr. Mike Stricker mentioned that, well, I think this question is posed to both PRE and the city. In your opening remarks, you mentioned that in order for you guys to issue permits, there's a supply and demand analysis that is being done. Now, my understanding is the tools that are used, tools and instruments that are used for that supply and demand analysis would be pretty much the 6 standard ones: your OLP, meaning your operating license plan, your surveys and your data collection, your demand models, your PTRS system, as well as the business plans and contracts, and then lastly, your industry forums and stakeholders engagement. Now, my question to you is, well, it's 2 questions really. In terms of your surveys, because I understand that you did conduct your demand analysis. Now, my question is, in terms of your surveys and the data that you collected, how frequent were the surveys that you did with the industry, and were they responded to adequately in terms of the response from the industry? And then the other last question is, the city's demand model, which develops and updates specific demand, develops and updates on a regular basis. The question I have is, what is the nature of that demand model, so that we can understand how does the city and PRI come to their conclusion in terms of the number of permits to be allocated? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now the e-hailing association, they've done, we need to wait for the response. So the questions that I'm gonna take is from the ECAP. It's ECAP, okay. Now I saw the other hand there, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I wanted to know if I can pose a question to my e-hailing colleagues. My e-hailing colleagues.
Sorry, now, we have got the government. I think when you go outside, you can have a conversation among yourselves. So
I would then like to make a comment, Chair, Chair. Chair, there's my colleague mentioned that there was some problems along the way. And strangely enough, no one has actually questioned why he mentions that there are been some problems along the way. So I wanted to know from government instead, the one party to the EMT Council, the working group of the EMT Council has temporarily suspended or temporarily withdrawn their engagement, which has now brought the EMT Council to a standstill. So I wanted to know from government, what is the way forward? Thank you.
are you from e-hailing? Wait, because they need to respond. We don't have much time. No, what I'm saying that I've already, I think there are 3 or 4 questions from the e-hailing. So because what's the point of asking more questions when they don't have a response? So we want them to respond, and then we see then if we still have got time. George, is there any questions related to the specific? Nothing, you're observing. Okay, I think for me, just to add, you wanted to ask ECAPS? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable member has alluded to the fact that there's a scope of implementation. So we understand there's things within the scope of Western Cape government, and there are things outside the scope of Western Cape government. Our request is that how will we move forward, or will we be guided in terms of how we actually get to some practicalities? Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask the government, the province, to explain it clearly in terms of what is their role in this process in regard, because for example, as committee, you will get someone from Fred and Al saying that they've been waiting and waiting. So we don't know whether it's about the problem is with the municipality or with the, because they normally just say that the province. So probably just maybe to define actually what are the boundaries, and also what is the role of the province to create enabling environment. So if the municipality doesn't provide the permits, at what extent that they could be able to assist, taking notes that there are actually the operators that are operating illegally. So just because there's no permit from the municipality, therefore it means that they're operating illegal. It is happening. So what is your role? And the second thing now to the industry, especially now it is the 16 days, towards the 16 days of activism, the issue of the safety. This doesn't even need to wait until that there is the implementation of the regulations. Within your part of yours, whereas probably with the Uber, there is an element of vetting the drivers. Despite that, of course, there will always be some of the cases where people get assaulted or robbed, although they will have been vetted. But with the InDrive, with the Bolt, at what extent that you expedite that process? It doesn't have to wait until the 6 months of the implementation because you are scared to get to all of these cars. At what extent that you could be able to make sure that the safety aspects of it, specifically in terms of the dealing with the vetting, specifically for those of the subgroups, like as I'm making an example, that they are not necessarily doing the vetting as compared to Uber. With the shuttle, it's easier, but I'm talking specifically with all of those. Over to you, the department. You start with a response from the members, and then you go throughout, and then we'll see how much time do we have. Thank you.
Firstly, Chair, thank you very much for the questions, and I'll deal with the small ones and the easy ones, and the team is going to deal with the difficult ones. And firstly, just the issue of the memorandum. If Western Cape Hailing Association doesn't have an issue, we can share that one. And I also think we can also share the responses. And I can also share with the members and the colleagues that the memorandum was accepted on the 17th of September, and on the 7th of October, I had a delegation of 5 members in my office where we had a conversation and tried to explain the responses that was given by the department. So, and also what I shared with the team is that it was unfortunate that they had to go out instead of taking or picking up a phone call and asking to meet with me. And on that particular day, I said, anytime they would like to meet with us, they can just pick up a phone and then we can deal with it. Because some of the issues that they are raising now about Stellenbosch, we can't wait for a standing committee engagement for people to say there's an issue in another municipality. You just pick up a phone and say, there's an issue, can you intervene? And we can intervene and we can actually have those engagement with our municipalities, because ultimately what we want to see a smooth flow in terms of people being able to go to places that they want to go to. If there are concerns of legislation and legality, of course, those are issues that we need to deal with. So, but with those few answers, Chair, I'll give over to the acting HOD to delegate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson, through you. It's our mechanism to give officials time to think. So just in terms of member Heron's questions around the numbers of applications, Mark, if you can deal with that. In terms of member Nagenshu's questions around some of the recommendations that have been made, how fast can we implement some of them? I will deal with that. In terms of demand and supply, Mr. Skriker, if you can look at that, but please speak about it in relation to the provincial role and not necessarily on behalf of the City of Cape Town or any other planning authority. Then in terms of the Western Cape Council or the EMT Council that has temporarily withdrawn membership, from what I understood by the question, I'll ask Kurt to do that. And then Mark, also in terms of the demand and supply, if you can add a response around the roles and responsibilities. I think the chairperson spoke to it. I will deal with what we do from our side, from an integrated transport planning and capacitation perspective. So over to you, Mark, and then Kurt, and then I'll finalize.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. I'm going to respond to Councillor Member Heron's question. My previous boss at the city, is I'm so used to calling him Councillor Heron. So, Member Heron, even though we are ready as a PRE to issue e-hailing specific licenses, National is not ready because they haven't registered all the app providers. So the 953 that's been approved, it's still as a subcategory of meter taxis. And when they did the demand analysis, the 6,600 that they calculated, that was also based on e-hailing as a subcategory of meter taxi. At the time when they checked PTRS, there was like 5,500 existing licenses. That is the reason why they agreed to support a further 1,100. So yeah, just on those questions. Then if I may, HOD, continue with some of the others. I think the chair of the e-hailing association mentioned the fact that, you know, a number of the app providers are asking for receipts. We are aware of that, but remember, in terms of the latest regulations, if you allow somebody without an operating license to use your platform, you can be deregistered, or that fine can be issued up to 100,000 rand. So there is that in the regulations and the act. And the question is, the members continue to apply because this is what Uber and Bolt and some of the other companies required. So what happened to the funds? The thing is, whilst it's costing the operator 628 Rand to put in that application, it's costing government a lot more to process those applications. Now, the only thing we can do is to say to the applicant, listen, the City of Cape Town is not going to support the application because they've already, the number of spaces have already been filled. If the member is insistent, in terms of the law, we have to take in that application. And then we have to refer it, we have to publish it in the government gazette, which costs money. So it's costing a lot more, you know, it's costing in the region of about 6,000 Rand to process that application. So where the money is going to, I think that is where the money is going to the processing. And we do advise the applicants that the city won't support. That's been done. Then there was a question around Stellenbosch. Now, I think we must agree that outside of the city of Cape Town, there's been no movement in terms of e-hailing and, you know, developing a demand model for that specific area. So what we're doing at the moment is peer learning. We're asking the city of Cape Town, they have developed a demand model. That demand model, interestingly, is not based on service. It's based on the information provided by the app providers. So now in terms of Regulation 27, it makes it easier because now we can request that info. The city can request it, or Stellenbosch can request it for transport planning purposes. So they plug it into the model, they look at the minimum number of trips, the average number of trips, and from there they determine the number of vehicles required. Now they can ask all the app providers to give them that information so that we can have a proper picture of what is happening out there. There shouldn't be a problem in Stellenbosch because if you go to section 66, it says even though a zone is specified, you may operate outside of that zone under 3 circumstances. Number 1 is if you take passengers out and you return empty. Secondly, if you take passengers out and you return with the same passengers, they want to go and do wine tasting in Stellenbosch or whatever. The third one is if passengers are pre-booked in the area outside of that zone, you can go and pick them up. My understanding is that you can't now operate in Stellenbosch in between, but you can certainly go from Cape Town. If you have a booking in Stellenbosch, go and pick them up and bring them back. And we have issued that letter. We've issued that letter. And many of the operators now keep it in their vehicles, and we've issued a circular to law enforcement as well. So you are allowed. The only thing is with e-hailing specific, that legal provision has not been carried over. So we will have to impose it as a condition on the e-hailing specific licenses. And I think we had a discussion on that already at the Medical Research Council. So yeah, I think that covers that. And then just on the role of the province. So transport planning is an exclusive local government matter. In terms of Section 36 of the Act, they must produce an integrated transport plan. They determine the numbers. We are facilitating the application process. So once you apply with us, we will publish in the government gazette to comply with PAJA, to give interested and affected parties an opportunity to comment. If there are objections, we'll do a hearing to give them that audio opportunity. We will refer to the municipality for directions based on the ITP. It's only if they don't provide us with directions that we can go ahead and consider what's in section 57. Does the person have a criminal record? Is the vehicle suitable? Then we can do it and we can take an independent decision. But otherwise, in terms of section 38, all state departments are bound by the provisions of integrated transport plans. And the reason for that, I can tell you there's been many commissions, but overtrading has been identified as one of the main reasons for the conflict and instability. So we need to create an equitable balance between supply and demand, where the level of service is good, but operators can still sustain themselves and proactively maintain their vehicles. So yeah, thanks, HOD.
Thank you. I'll ask her to deal with the EMT Council question.
Good day. Yeah, we've received a letter from Wokia indicating that they would withdraw from the establishment of a council. Now, the council was established on request from the industry, both sides, with ECAP and Wokia, for them to be a united front and to be able to speak on behalf of the industry, to engage government, and to also ensure that the industry is properly regulated, and also with regard to capacitation and empowerment, economic empowerment as such. And the council was also is supposed to also engage the app providers in terms of the social responsibility. For instance, like Wikia lobbied Uber in terms of repatriation fees and so on, for especially for drivers. That would be also the unilateral discontinuation from the app. Once we've got this council together, they would be able to lobby in terms of being part of a disciplinary committee with the app and so on. It's unfortunate that the Wokia withdrew. We got a letter last week. I then wrote back to the Wokia with a proposal from the department side. But I also indicated that this proposal need to be discussed at the working group, because the working group, in terms of the terms of reference agreed to, are the only institution that were able to insert or to finalize an interim constitution, which would take the industry to an elections and so on. So I've been engaging with Kia and ECAPs behind the scenes, and I still hope that even today's chairperson that Wikia would come to the party tomorrow. We've scheduled the meeting. They are aware of the meeting tomorrow. So all indications are that hopefully they'll be there tomorrow for us to continue. I don't know whether I am able to divulge the details of the impasse and so on, because maybe it would jeopardize the negotiations and so on. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson. And then just finally, going back to Member Nkengu's question around, if other provinces experience the similar issues, we can confirm that that is the case. It largely revolves around regulatory issues, the practicality of implementing, and then safety. And that categories are also contained in the e-hailing presentation around how can you support us from a safety perspective, the practicality of implementing these new regs, the establishment of institutional platforms to engage on these matters. And we also hear the request to establish a safety council that encompasses all modes. So Member Nkengu, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back in the house dealing with our adjustment budget. The ink is almost dry. So from a practical perspective, we are within the budgeting process. We need to go back, and when this council is established, that's a good platform to engage on all the interventions required. There's no intervention that has been presented that I think any official disputes, but it's now the how we do it. And from a budgeting perspective, the cycle that we have to deal with in terms of when we put applications for additional money into the process. But I'm also quite confident that Kurt will engage the working group on this planning cycle. And I think it's important that industry understands when we do apply, when there's only certain times in the year we can do this, Chairperson. So I think we've covered all the questions from our side.
I think we've missed just the one. when will we be ready to accept e-hailing specific applications? I think the chair asked that question. So we are ready, Chairperson. We've enhanced PTRS, we've updated our business processes, we are ready, but we need that registration certificate from National to show that the app provider has been registered. So I reckon it would most probably be mid-December we'll be ready to take in, because they've already, applications were opened this week. I'm not sure whether any of the app providers applied. I'll check with National and just revert, but I reckon it will take about a month to register the app providers. Then we should be ready. Thanks, Chair.
Oh, Chairperson, my humble apologies. That was your question. So from the municipal capacitation perspective, the law that Mr. Skraker referred to, the National Land Transport Act, province's role is to capacitate. The planning is done at the local government level, but what we do for municipalities like Stellenbosch, which is referred to as a type 1, as well as the city of Cape Town and George, that 3 municipalities has been categorized as type 1, so they do comprehensive integrated transport plans. District municipalities, type 2, so they do DITPs, and then local municipalities outside of Stellenbosch and George do type 3, which is called an LITP. So that's the planning. That is understanding what it is from a public transport perspective is in your municipality. Your infrastructure, your operations, the modes that operate there, the surveys, all of those things. We either support the municipalities to do it for them, or we transfer funds and oversee the process that's done. So Stellenbosch and George, they do their own, but we do assist them financially. The city of Cape Town does their own. Every other district we do for on behalf of, with participation. And this speaks to the capacitation issues at local government level, Chairperson. And we obviously, it has to go through the process of going through council, etc. They then follow the same process in terms of disposing of the application, as Mark has explained. But we do support them in terms of the planning.
The response on the safety, before you pose the questions to the department, what do you account for in regard to the taxi, to the drivers who are not being vetted? Because it doesn't, we have to wait for the implementation of the regulation from your side. Your response from your side, e-hailing?
I think for us is a matter of like we feel like there should be a transparent process firstly, whereby every regions they should be covered with the applications. And also those drivers who feel like obviously they're not yet been vetted, also there must be in a process whereby most of the drivers must be given an opportunity to do so. Because at this current moment, the only thing we are facing, and one of the things we've been raising also to Mr. Cat, was everything that we are doing, it's unfair if not all the regions have been covered, meaning the municipalities have been covered. The process of even launching the council and all of that, it might be all, make sure that all the Western Cape regions, is other municipalities, they have been covered in terms of making sure they have given a chance to apply. And then we can move on with the process. In terms of the municipalities who are gatekeeping and refusing their applications or permits, that's why I've been asking the same question to say that that one needs to be dealt with specifically by government to make sure that they enforce and let those municipalities to allow those people, drivers around there to are able to apply. Yeah.
We'll come back to you, back to the members. Member Masipa, Member Harrow. That from so far, probably amendment is just adjusting the hand. Okay. Let's start with the members first.
Thank you, Chair. I thought the president was said clapping hands, for good speeches. was surprised that, when the department spoke, there were no hands clapping. But I think, Chair, from my side, is really to welcome this kind of collaboration that is happening here in front of us. And I think it's really encouraging to see what's happening here. But I think the most important question, obviously, is the question of, safety for our, obviously, commuters as well as or users of e-hailing transport, as well as you as really the owners of the business. But key for me is that I hear the issue of people operating illegally. I think the danger is much bigger. Obviously, it damages your industry if those operators are caught, obviously, with wrong things. I would really urge that maybe there should be a better working relationship in ensuring that people that are operating on the streets are licensed. Because if incidents happened while the operators are unlicensed, I think it damages not only the government, but it damages your industry. So that's my appeal, really, to say that maybe, collaborate a little bit better there to ensure that, you have got members that are operating licensed until, the process can be it's going to be painful. Maybe it's a little bit slow, and we would want you to be licensed, all of you, that really wants to be licensed. But I think key is that, you don't also want to damage your industry and reputation as such. So that's really my remark, not really a question, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, I mean, I don't think with the time constraints that we're really going to get to the nub of this. But I think we'll need to engage again to get to the nub of this, because there's so much. But if I go back to the question that I asked around the numbers, the 953 out of the 6,600, that number, you called me councillor, the number is so familiar that nothing has changed in 8 years. The things we're talking about today, nothing has changed in 8 years. I mean, that's thank you. I mean, we were talking about these numbers in 2018. I just Googled what I said in 2018. I can pull up media statement saying these are the number of licenses we're going to issue in 2018. 2016, actually, the one said. So, I mean, that we've only issued 953 in 7 years. I can tell you that I think when I left the city of Cape Town, it was about 900. So what the hell's been going on? Then we talk about the problem with Stellenbosch. The Land Transport Advisory Board was supposed to deal with the functional area, to resolve functional area problems. Area problems were the city of Cape Town and the municipalities around the city, where people will travel to and fro from. Why is the Land Transport Advisory Board not dealing with the problem that people need to go to Stellenbosch and then maybe want to come back? Or maybe someone else wants to come back. Do we really expect the operator to drive back empty? Why can't we fix this? I mean, it's astounding to me. I want to say the complaint about drivers applying for or taking a receipt to the app operators are also to blame. I mean, the app operator should be saying that the city of Cape Town has reached its limit and is not going to issue any more permits, or we've reached our limit, because the demand model came from the app providers, as the department said. So the app providers know what the total demand model not be allowing or encouraging anyone to go and apply for licenses when they know that those licenses will not be granted. The final point or question maybe is around the comment that only 2% of the 6,000 or the 5,000 odd licenses that have been issued as meter taxis are actually operating with meters. I think so you made that comment, which means that actually, I mean, do we have 4,500 meter taxis out there using the old meter, or is the old meter dead and actually the future of traveling by door-to-door transport in a so-called meter taxi is actually an e-hailing industry? Because if there's no meters available, if you're saying that of the 5,494, only 2% are actually using meters, then there's a problem that's much bigger than what we can resolve in the short sitting. But I've raised things that I would like us to engage in, and I don't know if the department can answer now, but we're going to need a session on this, I would say. Thank you.
Right, but I think before it was at the back. So let's take the ones that I said I was not gonna take it, so let's take it at the back and then we go to the front. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So my question to the department is that when you've reached quota on permit applications, and then again there's reopening of applications, instead of rejecting those applications before when you reach quota and then reopening again, why can't you put those applications on hold until again there's reopening of applications, or maybe there's rejections from some that approve or time lapsed to uplift, and then automatically push those that were outside of the quota into the quota? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mine is just a quick follow-up. I would like to ask Mr. Striker or the Western Cape government to address the elephant in the room. We have app companies currently, even today, that are still taking new drivers or new operators, while they know that the operating license are not being issued. So does the PRE or the Western Cape government has the power to issue a moratorium to app companies not to load new e-hailing drivers because they are busy flooding the market, making the industry or our business less profitable by the influx of the by influx of the drivers in the platform, making it very, very hard to make a sustainable living. So can the Western Cape government or the PRE issue a moratorium until this new permit process is approved for e-hailers to apply for e-hailing, specific e-hailing operating license? These new companies such as Bolt and Uber or InDriver not to recruit new drivers until this issue is resolved. That is the specific question I would like to get an answer to. Thank you.
Sorry, this is the last round of the question, so that's why I'm taking the question so that the department can be able to respond. Before that, there was yeah, at the back, and then I'm coming back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Now, my one actually is now partially covered, but I just want to add one item there in terms of the vetting on and the unvetted drivers. You see, these app companies, they do deactivate drivers unfairly. A lot of drivers that are operating currently on the app are being forced to operate illegally by using fraudulent document. But because of those few, there are a lot of drivers that have never been vetted, never had any sort of document, but is still operating illegally. So I think maybe we should highlight that, because those drivers that have been unfairly deactivated are now operating again because they are desperate. Reason being, they are using vehicles that are either still financed by the bank or rented vehicle, or overall they have families to feed and all of that. So for whatever the reason, they are also being tempted to use the app. They are fully operational, they are fully licensed, everything was okay, everything was good, but they are just being cut out. These are something that also need to be looked at. With these apps also currently still, as my comrade alluded to, they are offering drivers a financial reward to invite new drivers. You can add 3,000 rand to your account from those apps, especially Uber, for adding a new driver when we know currently what's happening. So yeah, I just wanted to add that quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have just one more question and one comment. The question is to Mr. Hendricks. He has commented on the way forward with the EMT Council. So I'd just like to know what happens in the event if no agreement can be reached between the two parties. And then secondly, just a clarification to my knowledge, there was a moratorium in place for about 6 or 7 years. And this is in conjunction with what Mr. Heron has said. I know that in 2023, about 2,700 operating licenses was issued. And then in 2025, a further 1,100 was made available, of which 953, I think, was approved and 600 and some odd was uplifted. So in total, I think we're going to be over the 7,000 mark with operating licenses, which is in conjunction to the study that was done earlier this year or late last year. I think UCT did that study. So yeah, that was just a clarification on that. Thank you, Chair.
Good afternoon or good morning. So I've got a question for the Western Cape government. We consistently and continuously say that we in an ecosystem where the role of government is to enable the ecosystem for us all to thrive. So the question I have for the Western Cape government is if it would be interesting to find out how much revenue they are making off impounding. Because the question I have is if, and this is human psychology, if I'm making a lot of money off something, why would I want to stop that? So then the question I have to ask are they still aligned to create an enabling system where we all thrive? Because yet they are making so much money. So I would like to request that in this platform that we're moving forward to, we need to get some more transparency on actually number one, what is that amount that's going for? What is the funding being utilized for? At the end of the day, it is still the government needs to be responsive to its constituents, and we should know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I just have a question and a comment. In terms of, well, the question is in relation to the rider verification and the driver verification. I just want to ask Pri, if during your strategy conversations, have you considered similar to the minibus taxi industry where the operators and drivers have to register on a certain database? Have you considered having a similar setup in the meter taxi and e-hailing industry, whereby, for example, us in the e-hailing industry, in the Western Cape E-hailing Association, we encourage all our members to have an ID card such as this one that stipulates whether you're an executive, a driver, or an operator. So this card would be, well, in most countries like in Asia where I've been, usually a driver, as soon as you arrive in a minibus taxi or any form of taxi, you'd have this card displayed on the rear view mirror, whereby as a passenger, you can easily identify where this driver or passenger is associated to, whether it be a company, a private company, or whether it be an association. So in the future, maybe you could consider that. Oh, well, like I mentioned, have you actually thought of it? If not, please do consider that. It will alleviate a lot of the commuter safety issues. And then just a comment for Pri, like I mentioned in my one of the concerns we have usually is the fact that most of our drivers aren't really clear with the information being publicized by Pri. So moving forward, I would request that you enhance and establish also pre-media channels that are easily accessible to all our members. For example, the mobility website is pretty much redundant at the moment. So if you could at least focus on having WhatsApp channels, which most of our drivers are on WhatsApp, and they'll easily be able to access that information on real time from Pri, as well as also social media bulletins. And please make it plain English, as well as vernacular languages for our drivers that are pretty much disadvantaged when it comes to the English language. Thank you.
Okay, the department is going to respond now. Can I just add, just for clarity, so that we can come out of here in an understanding? I'm familiar with with the minibus taxi industry, how it works. I'm not familiar as much with the e-hailing. So what, especially your comment at the back, what you alluded to. So there's an issue of where it's the driver that hasn't been vetted, but using a vehicle that's where it is licensed, there's a permit. There's that issue. There's also an issue where you'll be vetted, you are okay, but you are operating illegal. And then just to make an example, because you mentioned Didi, in terms of the types of the municipality, I think Member Haron mentioned something about it. It's about, I'm coming from George. In George, the last time I checked in the system, there were only 6 meter stroke e-hailing that are legal. I'm using it quite now and again. So it means every day I'm using, if I'm in George, using the Uber or whatever. So it means that I am in an illegally operated car. And therefore, if anything will happen whilst I'm doing the work of the parliament, and yet we know that there have always been 6, according to the system, and yet we know that from between the airport, even outside where they take them to the airport, even to the Oseron, but I'm talking about, for example, for me, going to Parkersdorp and then I want to go to Cornwall. I don't have a car, so I'll just Uber them. I'm taking them, they're there at the back, and they are illegal. So the point that I'm trying to make is about, we have got quite all of those. So when we live here, and of course, we might not be able to get all the answers, but we need a guidance, a direction in terms of how could the provincial government is able to assist beyond the metro in terms of the facilitating the process. I know the spheres of government, they do their own work, but you are here as a provincial parliament. How can they be able to afford the process of making sure that we have got lesser of the illegal operators, but not only just for impounding, but also in regard to creating an enabling environment for that, at least there should be. How they work it with the municipality and in regard to the national, and also how could be the current ones that are actually operating legally, but the safety issues related to that, the drivers, the vetting, and like the commuters are safe in regard to that aspect of it. But as I'm saying, you might not finish it here, but for me, it's about the take home. When I get back, actually, I'm going to George and I'll be using a legal operator. I am, because there are only 6 in the system. I don't know. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chair.
Point of order, Chair. Why are we not getting clapping?
No, Chair, thank you very much.
There's
Firstly, I
a
need-
clapping member now.
Um, no, Chair, thank you very much, and I'm glad the colleagues, and I'm going to say this, and I really hope that everyone is going to listen to what I'm going to say. Our space is very complex, and our space is also very dangerous. You've got legal operators that expect you as a government to fulfill your role in terms of enforcement, and you need to do that. And you've got illegal operators who do not have any interest of, say, guiding any commuters. They just want to operate illegally. And we can't condone such. I'm going to reiterate what I'm saying. I will never condone illegal operators while I'm still on this chair. And that's something that we need to understand as well. We've got rules and regulations that we need to comply with, and we need to adhere to that. And secondly, as much as there are challenges when people apply, and whenever you apply for an operating license, you will always have to expect a yes or a no. And when you don't get it, it doesn't mean that you got a right to operate illegally. It just does not operate like that. And also because we need to respect those that have done the processes, that have been granted the right to operate. Because what does it do? Once you operate illegally, you go to a route and then it's oversaturated. And what happens? Then there's conflict. And then they expect me as the MEC to be on national television and say, this is how we're going to do. And we have to take measures to protect people's lives. And what I'm saying that is that we really want to work with everyone and we expect people to work with us as well. And by saying that, I'm not saying that there are no challenges. And what the chair is actually raising now is of concern for me. It can never be that for many years that we will only have 6 operators when it comes to hailing. Why do we have 6? And those are the kind of questions that we need to ask our partners at the municipality. There is a need. Is there a need or there is no need? Because that's where the problem is, Chair. When you're outside, you would say there's a need for so many operators. And then the one that has got the responsibility to do their own analysis would say, no, there is not such a need. And that's where we need to come in, Deirdre, and trying to make sure that we assist so that we help those that want to operate and we help them so that they become legal. I think that's our responsibility because we need to create the environment that is conducive for people to strive. And secondly, what Member Heron is saying is that I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, when we had an issue with Somerset West, Mfuleni, it was about unidirectional and bidirectional. The first time I heard about it, I said, how does it make sense, Chair, that I'm staying in Grabo? I take people in Grabo and then I take them to Somerset West, but someone else must bring them back, but we stay in the same place. It does not make sense. You know, those are the kind of issues that we are saying as a department. We need to look at it. Are we actually adding value to what is happening in our environment? Or can we change how we are doing things? And I'm great to say that the department is actually looking at that. We are looking at it. What is it that we can do to make sure that people are able to have sustainable businesses, what they are doing? And one other concern that we have, the issue of recruitments, you know, it happens in the MBT where people recruit from other associations. In the e-hailing, I see it's also happening, you know, where people are recruiting drivers, which is something of concern that we want to deal with. Because you know the dangers of that. Once you recruit from another association, or you will find yourself in a very compromised position. That's when you start, you know, killing one another. And that's when you start the fightings. And those are the kind of things that we need to deal with. But I really appreciate our engagement with the colleagues. And I really want us to also tap into the illegal operators and also the issue of impoundments, because I don't remember that was my health with impoundments. No, but I think the colleagues must also deal with that. But I think in closing, Chair, ours is to help those who want to legalize. And of course, it's not highly dependent on us as PRI, but it's also about the planning authority. So the planning authority must do what they need to do. And we as PRI will do what we need to do as government. Thank you very much, Adi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, I think that applause was for you. Just to just to recognize Member Masipa's comments around the safety of commuters and keeping that front and center. It was noted, and I'm sure our stakeholders note the comment. In terms of Member Heron's comment around it, just feels like nothing's moved in 6 years. I think Mark will raise the issue of the moratorium, but one of our colleagues at ECABS actually started responding to that question in his comment. From an LTAB perspective, there is engagements, but I don't think it gets to this point of where the challenges are. So, you know, Stellenbosch, Stark and St. Paul, they are part of the functional region and we do engage. But what we're trying to do from our side now is to make sure that there's peer learning. And I think Mark raised that particular issue earlier, where what all the lessons learned in the city is for those lessons to be taken to all the other municipalities. And we're starting in the functional region, but we're also going to speak to the type 1 planning authorities that do comprehensive integrated transport plans. It's very difficult even when we support financially or by virtue of doing it on behalf. It's still a different sphere of government. It's still an executive council decision in terms of what's contained in there. There is, as you know, proper consultation or public participation that happens with the development of these ITPs, and we will continue trying to assist them and engaging at these platforms that have been established. And I think through IPC, we must use that platform a lot more in terms of the subcommittee, the meter taxi subcommittee. I don't think there was a subcommittee because IPC was last week and there was limited feedback around the meter taxi input. Just in terms of the app issues, in terms of the platforms, I'm going to ask Mark to deal with what is expected from the app perspective. I'm going to ask him to deal with the issue around why can't you just hold our application in abeyance almost while the quota has been filled. And then in terms of the EMT Council and the way forward, if I may, there is a meeting that has been proposed for tomorrow. If members do not if they do not participate in that particular meeting, it's up to Mr. Hendricks to then escalate it to myself and the EA in this, and then we will deliberate and decide, you know, what is the best way forward. So Mr. Hendricks will escalate it if there is nothing that comes from tomorrow's meeting. In terms of the fare revenue around impounds, we don't get any of that fare revenue. We also don't have access to that information from local authorities, but if the chairperson so resolves with the committee, we can request that information. But it should be, you can be able to go into any annual report of any local authority and there should be that sort of line item in that. From a driver verification, again, you know, we hear the issues, the response to the chairperson around that. But in terms of the media channels to explain to drivers, I think we're going to explore all the options that we have. From a social media perspective, what we can do is go back and we must also look at PTRS and what communication we can put through there, what WhatsApp channel. I mean, the council would be a good opportunity to establish a WhatsApp council, but there has to be a council first. And then, yes, in terms of George and that chairperson, it's something in terms of the peer learning process with the City of Cape Town PRE that we will push as a matter of urgency. Mr. Skyko?
Yeah, I think actually you've already answered most of the questions. Just on the chairperson's question around George and the meter taxis, I stand corrected, but I think there are legal meter taxis in George that we've issued. It's not a lot, and there may be a demand for more. But what the City of Cape Town Chair has agreed is their model can work in any municipality. So you request the data from the app providers for that area, you plug it into the model, and it will tell you how many vehicles are required. So we are busy with that process with the City of Cape Town. They are receptive to that and to assist there. We've already, with all the municipalities, Chair, we've done presentations on the new regulations just to sensitize them as to what's coming their way and what they need to do in terms of performing their land transport function. So that process is underway with the municipalities. On Councillor Heron's, Member Heron's, question earlier, that number will sound familiar. The number will sound familiar because I think in 2018, Member Heron, we granted something like 850 licenses. Then there was a moratorium. That is when the city developed this new demand model. They lifted the moratorium, if memory serves me right, in 2022, and then they opened 3,354 spaces. Those spaces have been filled. And then this year they updated the model again, and they opened another 1,106, of which 953 were approved, but there's still space there. There will still be spaces after this process has been concluded. On the issue of can we hold the applications, I think now, in terms of the current regulations, both the province and the municipality can impose a moratorium. So once they impose a moratorium, it stops the application at point of entry. And we can only dispose of applications that's currently in the system. In terms of the previous regulations, it was a municipal moratorium. So we still had to take in the applications. And we've got a legal duty to dispose of those applications within 60 days. So that's the challenge that we're sitting with. But if they feel there's enough and the council agrees and the municipality want to impose a moratorium, then they can do that. I think outside of the city of Cape Town, there's still opportunity. There's still a need for vehicles. And interestingly enough, there's a new regulation called the legalization of operators who do not hold operating licenses. It's Regulation 32. So anyone who's been operating for more than 180 days and they've got a vehicle registered, they can prove that the previous application was refused. The PRE must actually sit with that municipality. Let's say George or Stellenbosch, and then we need to invite application commensurate to the demand in that area. So that process is also still open in terms of the new regulations. In terms of the registration of members, Advocate Reid, I'm going to speak as a previous registrar for the province. I think we are exploring that option of looking at registering other modes and other, members. So that is in the pipeline, and we are exploring those options. I completely agree with the WhatsApp channel. The more we can communicate, the better we'll be off. Because otherwise, we're also sitting with futile applications that we have to process at a cost. So I think good comment, and we will certainly look into that. Thanks, HOD. Thanks, Jay.
We reached the end. We know that it was quite short, but at least it's a beginning. Because we did say that it was supposed to finish at 12, but the committee has to come up with the resolutions of the discussions. So whatever that you're going to do now is about your closing remarks for each. Probably let's start with you, and then the minister, you'll be the last one. Your closing remarks, starting with the e-hailing.
Chair, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think it's one of the productive meeting whereby we're given enough time also to vent out on our issues that we have. In closing, Chair, I just want to say something that I think it's very sensitive and it's very serious out there. E-hailing industry, besides being targeted by criminals, now we have been exploited by the minibus taxis. And that thing is going out of hands. And it's a very big concern to us that we look like SAPS is not assisting. We have reference of incident whereby even when SAPS is invited, the crime exploitation intelligence, they are invited on the scene when the car has been taken from the driver and requested to pay 1,500. SAPS can't help. They negotiate. After that, they will say, we leave you with these people. You must wait until you do whatever they say you must do to them. And they left the crime scene. So we have this concern that this thing is escalating and is out of hand. But also, we want to request from the law enforcement, especially the traffic law enforcement, that they need to also to make sure that during that process, they should go away and stop those people who are doing those informal roadblocks on the road. And they are wearing reflects, and you can see that they are busy, but the law enforcement pass them, the SAPS pass them, they don't even ask them why they are standing on the road. And drivers are fear now to operate. They can't operate anywhere because obviously there are these people who are doing such things. And lastly, I would say to the chairperson of the committee and also the members, honorable members and my colleagues here, on ECAPS and my colleagues from e-hailing, Western Cape E-hailing Association, is that I think most important thing is that we need to find a working team for all of us, and we make sure that whatever that we discuss is for the best of the interest of the Western Cape, so that all of us, we can be provided necessary equipment so that we can able to operate legally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, you mentioned in your last remark that the driving with the illegals, but you seem to know a lot about the industry, and I'm impressed with your knowledge that you said you don't have, but you actually do. So well done. Those, just to point out, those illegal drivers that perhaps, and they're good guys, I can see, but they are on an app, and you've accessed, not them, you've accessed the app, and they shouldn't be there in the first place, so that's part of the problem down here as well. I just want to mention that the LTAB, we were also part of the LTAB. We had a representation on there when they stopped the IPC legislatively, which continued with us, but we were not permitted to attend LTAB. So that's also maybe something we could look at, perhaps from the city and the province. Member Heron, we worked together in 2015, 2016, did some challenges, and in those years, it was only about 695 to maybe 1,000 permits that we had on in the industry. And so we have come a long way, I think, in all fairness, from that number to 6,500 that we got now. But I would like to thank everybody and I thank the committee for the time and allowing us to voice our concerns and also to give gratitude where it's due. And to the Minister, I think we're grateful for your comments, and I think we can have a fantastic relationship as industry and as government going forward. Thank you.
Minister?
No, firstly, Chair, thank you very much for the invite, and also to the honorable members for their inputs. And we always, as a department, welcome an opportunity to appear before the standing committee. It's also an opportunity for us as a department to go back to the drawing board, so where we can actually sharpen ourselves so that we can be better. But also, I'm really worried whenever there are different modes of public transport that are trying to, where there's accusations, saying this mode is trying to infiltrate the other mode. And, those kind of allegations do not go well in terms of what you want to bring in as mobility, where we are saying mobility must be for everybody. If you want to operate, you must be able to operate. There's no one should be given the monopoly, when it comes to our commuters. Our commuters must be able to have a choice. So like you, Chair, if you want to use e-hailing in George, you must be able to do that. But if you want to use Go George, you must be able to get that. So such comments does not actually, help us. It's actually, also says to us as colleagues, we need to have more engagements. It can never be that another mode, I choose is another mode in terms of when we are at such platforms. So, but I think we need to have more such engagements, because some of the issues that came out here, Chair, are issues that can be resolved. But because we don't have a structure where we can engage with e-hailing, that's why you find that there's always these smaller things. But I really hope that we are able to do that. So next time we appear before you, are able to say, we do actually have a structure with e-hailing, we do engage with them, and these are the issues that we are confronted with. But from our side, thank you very much. And to the officials, thank you very much for the work that you have done in preparing the presentation and giving the answers. And to our stakeholders, thank you very much for your honesty and for your recommendations. The fact that you are able to recommend how we can better as a department shows that you really here, you want to strengthen our hand. And those who have not met me, I'm still here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope when probably we meet again, for me as the chair, as I indicated when I opened that, we have engaged with the different sector stakeholders. For me, ideally, it will be where, not sitting, but probably the department could show us a lab. I'm also a academic, so a lab or a classroom where they will probably pilot all these sectors under one, whether it's in the municipality or in an area where they'll say that this is where probably PRASA would be or is actually working. This is where from the passengers, from Antisara, from the rail, goes to the bus, from the bus goes to the e-hailing, from the e-hailing goes to whatever. Those kind of things where you could be able to transplant and take that from the lessons learned, and then you could be able to replicate elsewhere. So instead of just hearing what e-hailing, whatever, show us in a place where you'll say, this is where actually want it to be a game changer. We're putting them, which is you have done partly as part of the N2 Express, but with a bus. But we want to see everyone in the same port, whether you do it in Saldanha, whether in Stellenbosch, whether in the Southern Peninsula, something like that, where you could be able now, we see for our eyes, oh, now there is the app. If you want now, you get out of this central line, you could be able to, and something like that. Or even get into a bicycle, something like that. But some of us travel a lot internationally. So we are exposed to these things. It works. So why can't it work here in this context? So we're looking forward to that. Again, thank you very much, Minister and your team, for coming as always, and also for their comprehensive response. And thank you for the stakeholders. We do know that some of you came all the way and we have been preparing. Actually, we've been ready. We keep on postponing because we're waiting for the department to be able to be here. We know October has always been busy, the transport month. So from here, the committee will do the recommendations and the resolutions. And if any that will be applicable to you, we will be able to send you more information. So until next year, please drive safely. It is festive season. Don't drink and drive. Don't allow your driver to drink and drive. Please be kind. Everyone is going through a lot. Sometimes we always want to use our rage, projecting to the others as drivers. I'm including myself. So thank you very much. There outside, there is a lunch. Zaid? Yeah, there's a lunch. So, yeah. Yo, in the members' lounge, there is a lunch. The lunch is for all of us, but you can go ahead because you are the visitors. Thank you very much. Having said that, the committee will just wait for a few minutes. We'll join you later, but you can go ahead. But can I take a picture? Can I use all smile? No, where are they?
Are we clapping for Benson online?
Okay. I like pictures. If it's not in black and white, it doesn't exist. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We didn't clap for Honorable Benson.
Awufuna ukutya okufela fela. Okay, members, we are, whilst they are moving out, yeah, I'm talking then. Okay, I'm going. I'll see you there. I'll see you. Okay, the sooner you can be able to go out, the sooner we could be able to join you. No, we're gonna take it there outside. Okay, we're gonna get it outside. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. E-cabs. We'll meet you there outside. Okay, members, in regard to the thank you very much. Any resolutions?
Chair, can I go first? I'm not as knowledgeable as yourself and Honorable Brad, but I do pick up that this maybe this legislation, which has got obviously contentious issues here that have been highlighted by the industry, and especially on their safety. And I mean,
It's only for us.
We
Oh,
know.
okay. So he's saying that you can sit. I don't know.
No, you
They-
can sit.
They make the rules. I
Yeah.
don't. I just follow.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, we quite well aware that even our own government transport now, when they go to Kailicha, they don't really use the name tag on their vehicles, and so because of safety issues. So I was just wondering if there is obviously a need maybe to make our concern about this from, as a portfolio committee, as one of the resolution, if we can, and if we can't, I do not know. But I just thought that maybe, it's one of those that we can maybe, through you, Chair, write to the to the minister or national and local, to really reconsider this in this particular regulation as such. Yeah, thanks.
Whilst we are thinking about that, it's just for the comments. Is remember these are the acts that they went through public hearing, and the act, the amendments, actually they came to us and then they did present in terms of the implementation in the Western Cape for them, for the government. The regulations also came up, and also they were gazetted, and also there will be comments. So I'm not sure at what I didn't read all of them. I only read all those that were submitted by the Western Cape government to them. But there was never any issues related to the branding. I will talk about the branding. There was never a branding specifically.
Apologies. Let me maybe look at that concern that was raised in this. And if other colleagues wants to go, they can go so long. Legislative.
Recommendations, resolutions. Member Van Wyk.
Yeah, I think the point that you raised, particularly in George, with the number of taxi licenses that are available, and I suppose the question is, how do we encourage the municipalities to be more proactive in dealing with this, it's a very important part of mobility and a very important part in terms of that internal transport within municipalities. And I just wonder how best the role that we can play, because clearly the department should be doing that, should be having that level of interaction and encouraging it to take place. But I think, as we've seen with a number of the other departments, there's a lot of work, very good work that our departments are doing in terms of assistance to local government and to the municipalities. And there seems to be a lag or drag in that the reaction from municipalities is not as speedy as it probably should be in terms of the economy and where the economy is moving and the way technology and the way improvements are taking place. And I'm just trying to work out, how best do we communicate that?
The department did mention that they are assisting them financially, the type ones. They said the George and the Stellenbosch and City of Cape Town. They said there is some finances that go there in terms of their ITP. So if now there is money involved, at what extent that now their department probably share in terms of their input in regard to the ITP of these municipalities? Because even the information about how many of them is because I'm from George, and also I've asked the specifics. Even those 6, they are under one company. So those kind of things, probably maybe you can ask them if there's financing, because you cannot be able to ask the municipality specifically, because that ITP forms part of the IDP. But probably we may just find out. Any Yeah.
Question that we asked the department on the progress on the ITPs and to what extent they've achieved or are achieving the objectives that they have. You know, if they can bring a report to us, then.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, maybe just to take this a bit further, the planning authorities need to have a demand plan. If George only licensed 6 meter taxis, then is it because the planning authority, being the George municipality, hasn't updated their demand plan, or is it only 6 applicants? So we really need to understand for the tier 1 or the type 1 municipalities what their demand plans are, and when last they were updated. Because George, I would say, would even have a functional region, because as you correctly said, people want to go from George to Oudtshoorn to Knysna to Plet or Beto. So George is an important municipality, like Cape Town is an important municipality, and how the demand plans of these anchor municipalities like George and like Cape Town interface with their functional region. So if you look at George, you can't look at George without looking what Oudtshoorn has done, what Knysna has done, so how are they managing that demand in that garden route district? And I would say the city of Cape Town and its surrounding municipalities, Saldanha Bay, Drakenstein, Teerwaarderskloof, Stellenbosch, we need to understand the demand plans and whether they are up to date and whether they are actually responding to real demand.
Yeah, no, it looks like I probably just assumed the safety concern when they were raised. I mean, the issue were raised, but I note that in the notes that is not covered. But I think safety is always going to be a problem. And I do acknowledge that the challenge of what you call, you put it nicely, in terms of the various operators, fighting. And maybe, the issue is what you just said, have a kind of a lab where, you can showcase, who's who and who operates where, and obviously, create a platform. But maybe that can be just a recommendation in writing, in terms of recommendation to the minister, what you just indicated earlier. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We have covered that part. And then the next thing is about the draft committee report. You'll be able to flag that. So we have got that draft committee report on the 24-25 annual reports of the Western Cape Mobility and also for the GMT. And then the other one is about the draft committee minutes of the 24th, 25. Can you flag them? Which one is first? Okay, the report. So for anyone who was there,
What's that?
Member Masipa is proposed. Member Van Wyk seconded.
My name is there. I propose.
Member Masipa proposing. Member Van Wyk seconded. Thank you very much. That is the end. We'll see you at the appropriation. Is it appropriation? Yes. Thank you very much. Is there anything else? Okay. So thank you very much. Please join the stakeholders. It's rude in my culture not to dine with the visitors.